like this lawyer. Like this guy. First of all, you got to get a lawyer. You want a guy by the name of John Vecchione.
Yes.
There's immediate, you're like, Vecchione, man, who knows, right? Sounds tough. Well, he doesn't look so tough. Actually, John, I got to tell you, I do want to talk to you about two cases. One, the fact that I think you've just recently filed a civil case with the President of the United States, but more importantly, locally, John. Let's talk about a crabber. Her name is Sarah Franny. She's there in Westport. She's a crabber. She drops the pots. Fish and Wildlife like to know, what she's up to. Why are you with the new Civil Liberties Alliance stepping in and defending her?
Because the Fish and Wildlife has decided that they're going to search her when she's not crabbing. And it's not just her. There's two other plaintiffs, Bill and Mike Young, their brothers, and they also are crab captains. And the fact is, so you take your pots, you drop your pots. There's a little binger on your pot dropper that tells them, goes back to Fish and Wildlife, tells them, hey, they dropped their pots. This is where they are.
Yeah.
You leave. You hope the crabs come in, but you go away for days. You go do other things. You do other things with your boat. All the time you're doing other things with your boat. Fish and Wildlife is tracking where you are to no purpose, to no good purpose for what they're there for. And then 3-4 days, you come back, see if any crabs are there. You pull up the pots to see. Bing, goes back to Fish and Wildlife, tells you that you just grabbed the pots. So maybe, and then you take the crabs out, you sell the crabs. Electronically, it says how many you sold, where you got them from. Bing, goes back to Fish and Wildlife. So they have all that information. Why are they tracking these people in their boats that they do private things with? They go a sightseeing, they maybe go fish somewhere else that Fish and Wildlife of Washington has no business on. So why are their movements being tracked 24 hours? No reason, but the bureaucrats want it.
So, John, is this similar to the case that you won in Louisiana with the Mexican Gulf fisheries victory? It is. It's basically the same thing. It's like shooting fish in a barrel, but this crab's in a barrel.
There you go.
Yes.
Yes, the puns should make me crabby, I guess. Well, I think what we're doing here is that so in that case, that was in federal court, and that was only under the federal Constitution. And what the Fifth Circuit said was, you can't do this. We're not going to really reach the Fourth Amendment, which is, don't search people.
Yeah.
But just under the Administrative Procedure Act, this is absolutely arbitrary and capricious. It has nothing to do with figuring out who's taking fish out of the water. And this is the same case, but we did file in Washington State Court with both federal and, your Constitution protects against unwarranted searches, and it also protects against taking. When you have to put a thing on your boat, they've taken that part of your boat, and the constitutional law is pretty clear that that's a taking.
Yeah.
So we've sued under both those, and it's also a class action. We want the relief to go to all the crabbers in Washington State, because it's just not right for them to collect your whereabouts all the time just because you have a crab license.
So, John, do you think you're going to be able to take what you did there in Mexico, pick it up, make a few changes, and then drop it down and win in the state of Washington? So we're going to go from Louisiana, take what we have in Washington. Included in that case, you also said it's important for the agencies, first of all, to respond. Apparently, they weren't even responding. That was there in Louisiana.
Yeah. And
then also you're saying, and the state needs to take into consideration cost, right? Before they just say, this is the rule, now you have to do this. The cost being incurred by, in this case, would be your plaintiff.
Right. You have to pay for these trackers, and then you have to pay to keep them up. And so you're basically paying for the patrolman following you around all the time, which is, that's not good. And then that's actually the case we took to the Supreme Court, which was Relentless versus Commerce, and you guys know it as Loper Bright v. Raimondo. Same case, but they were putting guys on your boat, and you were paying for them to follow around. So we do a lot of these type of cases, but in this case, I think it's an analog to what we did in the Mexican Gulf case.
While I have you, I know that you're also involved in a whole bunch of stuff. You just recently filed in civil court against the President of the United States regarding his National Emergency Act. And I got to tell you, again, this seems going to be pretty simple for you because it's like no one's ever used this act. Why are you claiming it? You've got all these powers you've all of a sudden decided you're going to use. You're basically saying, let's have Congress actually start to do its job and regard tariffs, and the president can't just use this sweeping National Emergencies Act. Have you got the ball rolling on this one? How do you feel about it?
Well, I have breaking news for you, John, because something has happened that
Vecchione,
nobody else has. You
Here we go.
And so last night, the past 8 o'clock, the government filed a motion to transfer. So they've moved. They don't like the court. We filed in the Northern District of Florida. I like the Gulf Coast, as
yes,
you can probably
obviously
figure out. So we filed. We're in Pensacola. We went and filed there. That's where our client is, Simplified, owned by Emily Lay, and so we filed there. That's Ebony America. They have jurisdiction, but the government has just filed to say, no, this is a trade issue, and trade issues go to a court in New York that's set up only for that. But obviously, we're going to resist that because the whole point of the case is we lay out, it's almost like you read the complaint, actually.
Yeah.
We lay out that the president does have tariff powers. He used them in his first term. We didn't sue him. We didn't sue over that because he used the proper statutes. Here, he's using a statute that is put in for emergencies to embargo, like, Iran is doing something with nuclear. We're going to embargo everything there because we don't want them sending over nuclear material, right?
Yeah.
That is an emergency. That's how you direct it. The statute doesn't use the word tariffs. He just declares an emergency. We sued on the fentanyl emergency, but now he's got the trade emergency, so we'll amend the complaint. But in the meantime, we're going to resist this, and we're going to say to the judge, this isn't a tariff statute. And if he agrees with us and keeps the case, well, I think the government is in some. We've also. It's not just the government's in some trouble then because if it's not a tariff statute, what the heck are they doing implementing tariffs under it?
Yeah. So speaking with John Vecchione, so basically the beginning of his argument, the president's argument was it under fentanyl? This is a national emergency. People are dying because fentanyl is coming in from Mexico, Canada, and China. So China, but then Mexico was included in there. So
Mexico and Canada were included. Those three, you're right.
Because it's coming across the border, right? So it's a national emergency for the protection of the citizens of America. So that's okay, right? We'd be okay with it. Smells a little bit, but
if he embargoed him, it'd be one thing, but he can't tariff him.
I see. Okay. Because Article 1 of the Constitution gives Congress the power to tariff. They're in charge of that because it's basically a tax.
That is what it is, and they always say, "Oh, the other countries are going to pay these taxes." Well, my client has her little check that she paid the tariff with. It doesn't say Z on the bottom; it says Emily Lay. So I think I'm pretty sure who's paying the tax.
Yeah, I tell you something. Here's what I like about you guys over at the National Civil Liberties Alliance. New Civil Liberties Alliance. You guys go after right, left. You don't care. It's just basically, here's the Constitution. Here are the rules we're all operating under. You're calling balls and strikes on this stuff. The Chevron action that you talked about before, I read about that. You got this one going after. Listen, it's an embargo. Your tariffs that be making people accountable to the Constitution. To you, there doesn't seem to be a lack of work for you, John.
No, there isn't. And as I said, if they do things the right way, the way I always said it is we also went after the loan forgiveness, because those statutes weren't for that. But all the congressionally passed loan forgivenesses, and there's a lot of them, we never sue on that because that's what's supposed to happen. Congress goes, we're in control of the money. We think these people shouldn't be paying their loans back because of hardship or whatever. They pass a law. We don't sue on it.
Yeah.
But if the president just says, I am the king, and now I'm going to do everything that we broke away from King George to do, then we're going to sue.
Sure. It seems you're stepping in where the ACLU used to always be present.
Oftentimes. I will say this, though. Out there in California, the ACLU did put in a brief for us out there in the West Coast, I should say. I know you're not California.
Not yet.
When Newsom and the legislature wasn't letting doctors talk to their patients about cures for COVID that the government didn't like. They did put it in. So they sometimes still hit the right notes.
Okay.
But you're right. That is what we're trying to do.
Yeah, well, you've got an entire orchestra behind you doing the work. So this is fascinating. We'll find out what happens, John, with Sarah's case. It sounds like if you succeeded there in Louisiana, you'll be able to have the same victory for the Crabbers in Washington. And then we will be following, because you mentioned the breaking news. They're trying to move it up to New York. You're like, keep it in Florida. This is not about tariffs. So this is exciting. You're right in the middle of it. Who knows? You could be before the Supreme Court soon, John.
Again, yeah.
That's not that exciting. You're going to be,
I'm
arguing
always excited. I'm very excited. I hope I always hope that the wins are so obvious that the government gives up, but they never give up. It's not like I always call it. I didn't win, in A Few Good Men. Tom Cruise cross-examines Jack Nicholson, and then the whole thing ends, right? I said, I failed the Tom Cruise test again. I didn't win on cross-examination the whole case. But we like to win and have them concede before we get to the Supreme
Don't you have
Court.
to yell something? You can't handle the truth. Have you tried that one yet?
I haven't tried it yet.
All right, break it out. Or a little Al Pacino. You just start screaming. Ah! Try that one as well.
You want answers?
Yeah, you want answers? We'll give them to you.
That was good. That was quick, whoever put that in.
We'll let you get back to work, John. Thank you very much for your hard work, and we'll be following to see, hopefully, a victory there for our Crabbers in Westport, and we'll see what happens with the White House. Thank you, John. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, John.